out here.
Okay, so I'll hit the record button on the possibility that we might come across an intelligent thing to share with people. So let's do that.
Good.
We're here live with the Aligning with Success conversation, Monday nights, which new time slot, 9 p.m. Eastern. We've got some dignitaries here who've been in the project for some time, and we're looking at how it is that for many of us who've been in Nikken for so long, it doesn't seem like the shiny new experience that a new person coming along today would have, because we all agree the products are outstanding. We all agree they're just as good as the day we first saw them, and even better because we have more products, more to offer, better value, better goodness, a more rounded approach to wellness. So we actually have a better proposition for the customer experience. So then why aren't we supercharged, excited, and communicating that in a way that's attractive and attracting a whole lot of people? So I believe that the issue is we have to look at ourselves and consider the fact that you might have a car in your garage that you absolutely love because it still does all it intended to do when you first got it. But do you love it the same as when you first got it? No. That's why people go out and buy new cars. There's this need for newness. And I think that Nikken has changed so much and the industry has changed so much that we really are in a new situation. In fact, the newest, part of the conversation we just left here was the idea that the internet has really changed the dynamics of how network marketing and the possibility of network marketing. So those of us who pioneered Nikken's introduction into North America at that time, we reached a pinnacle of success and momentum before the internet really had a chance to grab hold and change the situation. But when that happened, it changed the situation for all of us. We were no longer the people controlling the flow of information and the messaging. More and more people had, basically the democratization of information. They had more access to information, and we couldn't control that access. So that changed how people received the message. It became very convoluted. Our role shifted, and we didn't know how to adapt to that new role because we never really considered it. We were riding on the coattails of the momentum. So many of us have experienced the residual effect of what we gave birth to 10, 20 years ago. But so much has changed that we are now still in the game, but really looking to evaluate how to re-engage now in this time frame under these circumstances, given that we still believe the value that's there, but we've been jaded by the history we've gone through. So it's not that brand new shiny car for us. How do you get out there and sell the brand new shiny car? Now, I was leaning in a direction, Stan, where you're concerned, because as a professional, you reach the epoch of success in your profession, and that for any professional out there. What does a professional typically do in the next phase of their profession when they have already been the master surgeon, they've already been the master whatever engineer, the master electrician? What is the next phase of their life typically about in their profession? Would you agree that it's coaching and mentoring the next generation?
Yeah.
That essentially that's what you become, a consultant to the industry. You become a consultant to the next generation. And then it's not so much about you being the person getting all the accolades and so forth. Now it's about you building the next generation and giving them the legs to stand on from your personal experience. So maybe for those of us who've been in Nikken, we get to live vicariously the experience and the excitement that we first had through somebody else, through somebody new. That we don't have to be all hypey and supercharged and giddy and peeing down one leg, as Marty would say. We don't actually have to do that because we already did that. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Now, that's not to say that I don't really still think this is super exciting and all that. It's just that I have a little bit more gray hair and I have to act a little bit more distinguished to be a little bit more credible in the eyes of these newcomers. And so maybe that's really the role we get to play in this next wave. It's the role of being the mentor and the coach, the seasoned professional. So when you say, Stan, I don't know how to approach this maybe it's not about approaching it exactly the same way anyway.
Before, yeah.
Maybe it's how do we approach this now, given the opportunity is still there. Yeah, it looks different than what we first experienced, but you got to admit, so does everything. I mean, everything looks different. You can't look at any business and see that the business model is exactly the same as it was 25 years ago.
Yes.
So margins have changed, technology has changed, access to technology has changed. People are making fortunes on the internet when it took, a decade to start a brick and mortar company. So everything's changed. So we can accept that Nikken doesn't look the same as when we first got involved, because it shouldn't. Otherwise, it would have been left in the dust.
Yeah.
It's adapted. And I believe, truly, I believe it's adapted correctly for what I believe is, in fact, the future of network marketing. I think a customer-centric model with retail being the emphasis. So it's really a direct sales network marketing hybrid using an e-commerce platform to support and using the infrastructure that's already available for delivery. So I think that's what Nikken has positioned itself to be. This new compensation plan in January really is the icing on the cake, because I think having the old compensation plan based on the building of leaders and duplicating that is a different compensation plan than the building of volume. In the gig economy, this new concept I'm hearing about called the gig economy, you can look it up, but it's basically the idea of people getting small jobs, ways of engagement that they can generate income. The whole career opportunity, the career notion, I don't think anybody's committed to any career anymore. They're committed to making money in any way they can, pretty much, but they're not committed to any particular vocation. They're open. And I think that, well, when I was going through high school, they were telling me that in my lifetime, it's very likely I would have 3 to 7 careers.
Yeah.
That was then,
before
the internet. What about now? So the gig economy is what they're calling it now, is people being transient and going in and out of certain things. So the idea of a person spending 15, 20 years building a Nikken business may be archaic, may not apply in the gig economy. But the ability to create a huge amount of traffic, volume, where people are in it for a while or whatever, that becomes the norm and the accepted norm, that changes how I approach the business. It changes my expectations, and it readjusts my disappointment factor. Oh, my people aren't doing anything. Well, they're doing what they're doing. Let's get some more people doing the bit that they're doing. So it's that kind of a shift that I think, and where you come in is having been involved in Nikken, you get to tell the story from the point of view of somebody who's been there and done that, who knows what it's like to cash big checks in network marketing. And believe me, that's not commonplace. If you've made $10,000 in a month in network marketing, you are in rarefied air. That's rarefied air. So that's a big deal. That's something to offer, even if it's nothing more than belief in the possibility for that newcomer, that it's doable. It's been done. You've done it. So how would I approach the business now coming into 2017 with a new engine? There's a new engine under the hood. There's a great way of looking at it.
Yeah.
That compensation plan is a new engine under the hood. It drives the way we do business. It shapes the way we shape our business and our marketing effort. So it totally is a new engine under the hood. I think this engine has a lot of horsepower because it's designed to have high RPM. Unlike the old days, which was lots of big pistons, huge gas guzzlers, tons of power, but they made a lot of noise. If you think about it, doesn't this sound a little bit like network marketing? You had a bunch of, big characters with making a lot of noise and vroom, 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 and got, you know, the engine revved up and everybody excited and so forth. And squeal of tires, and I mean, that was the muscle car, right? That's network marketing 101. Like that's the era we just came out of.
Yeah.
But now it's like we have more gears, higher RPM engine. It runs quieter, but it has lots of power. I think that's the engine that we're running in now. So these ideas are what are going through my mind to reshape how I approach this. Because if I know I have something great to offer, then why wouldn't I offer it? I just need to find somebody who's looking for something. And if they're looking for a way to generate some income, and it's a way that is fun, it's a way that's meaningful in terms of the kind of work, it's helpful to people in a meaningful way, then the Nikken is a great turnkey opportunity for people. I think the learning curve has come down because I think you had to be a big personality to play. I think in this business where we came from, you had to be a big personality to play to make the big bucks. Now, it's not so much about that. Now it's about the empowerment of people on a wider scale. So less pyramid shape, more horizontalization. And that's why our plan looks the way it does. And by the way, this is typical of the economy and business. This is not just, oh, what's happening in Nikken. No, Nikken is actually adjusting correctly to the dynamics. You know, somebody was just telling me this. I think it was Ben or Dave was telling me that recent statistics said that the corporate world is transitioning to a horizontalization where more and more people are being subcontracted rather than employed.
Yeah.
Means it's looking more like, I think it's 64% are being subcontracted rather than employed. That means the world business, which I talked about way back in the day when I talked about network marketing, was that this was the future because it's more efficient and nature tends toward a more efficient model. So don't be surprised when you see the corporate world mimic the network marketing world because it is more efficient. It's a better way to organize people. And so here we are. Here we are 15, 20 years later, and it's starting to look like that.
Mike, you've been using the word democratization. So that's what you're explaining, and maybe you could elaborate on that, because again, we're going to be using what you're using to learn a new language. So if you could just expand on that a little. Yeah,
well, essentially, if we looked at the corporate world, or if we looked at network marketing, traditional network marketing, you'll find that the smallest percentage of the people earn the most money. It's a very, very narrow, it's a pyramid where I'm hearing a bunch of background noise. Michelle, is that you?
I'm sorry. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. Let me try
or not.
Okay. So if we looked at it from a statistics point of view, then the lion's share of the income is earned by the top 1%, really no different than the typical corporate world. So it's a natural progression of free enterprise. It's just the evolution of consciousness at work. So money is a display of consciousness. At the end of the day, what you earn is exactly what you feel you're worth and worthy of. So if you want to make more money, it's not about changing opportunities. It's about changing your perception of yourself, your self-awareness, what you give yourself permission to earn. That's why women, by the way, hit the glass ceiling, because it's a fiction. It's their own mind at work. And so they self-sabotage. That's how that happens, because it's a conditioning that they've been living with all their life, and they don't even know they're the ones creating it. But we do create our own reality. So if we looked at the network marketing scenario, how would we reshape it so that more people had more income at the base? Well, rather than making it so much about the leadership bonus, you want to put the money in the pocket of the people who are actually involved in the transaction. Well, the first transaction is the sale. That's what stimulates a commission check for anybody, is the sale. Well, back when the sale meant join so you can buy wholesale, we forfeited 25% commissions. We just gave it away. Even though we said we had a retail price, a suggested retail price, did anybody actually pay that? As a rule, no. As a culture, no. We were conditioned and we were taught to believe that we should enroll to buy wholesale. In fact, that's what you did. And so that's what you propagated because it was a simple exercise of duplication. In fact, this was the conversation that I had with Kurt today, how I am encouraging people to enroll as a customer first because I want them to pay retail, not just today, but every day. I actually don't want us to ever have to pay wholesale. I want us to always pay retail because I think that you can stand in front of people and just say, I'm a customer like you. And not only am I a customer, I love these products so much, I tell people about them. And I've created a business as a result of that. The business is a follow-up to the love that we have and the passion we have for the products. So in the democratization of the compensation plan, they've insisted on us selling the products at retail. And they adjusted the prices so that it was more palatable for us, to sell them at retail because the new adjusted retail is what we technically paid as wholesale consumers. So they adjusted it to our mentality and they adjusted it to what the market will bear based on what we've done with the market. And in terms of comparables that we can now compare our pricing with other products online, it's given us a real retail market, a real retail possibility. So the first thing the company did was ramp up on the retail side and give us incentives to go out and create customers, like 40% discount, that first incentive that they launched. It was all designed to get us to move, put that retail ore in the water and start rowing. Get that thing going, get it going and learn how to get it going and learn how to communicate and learn how to experience the customer. And some of you were good at it already, but many of us had paid no attention at all of this. So we had to develop that skill, that muscle. And in doing so, if enough of us did it, we could create a culture so that the new culture in Nikken is one where people pay retail, including us. And of course, the comp plan was adjusted so that it would only recognize retail volume. So that further enhanced the movement in the direction of retail. So we now have a retail business. We now can demonstrate that we sell our products at the suggested retail price so that legitimizes our retail price list. It gives us a real business scent. If somebody came sniffing around looking at us as a business, would they agree we really have a business? Do we really have customers that aren't necessarily earning a commission check, that aren't motivated by the compensation plan to buy the products? We can all of us on this call demonstrate that in spades. And so we meet the litmus test, ultimately the litmus test of a business. Do you have a product that's viable commercially? Or do you have to incentivize it by creating an opportunity to get people to actually buy in? What's the motivation behind the purchase of that product? I think Nikken has always been clean, but we were operating under a network marketing precedent, which made it unclean. We've cleaned it up. So we're really clean and pure now, and I think that's an important part of our message. But getting back to the democratization, so by putting money in the hands of the person making the sale, primarily that 25% is the biggest number in our compensation plan. Of all the numbers on that plan, it's the biggest. So now we can say, check, we all earn that. Yeah, it may not be the biggest chunk of your income down the road, but it is the biggest percentage on a per transaction basis you're getting. So now, by reducing the requirements for a person to achieve rebate status, such as 10% as executive, 20% as silver, Nikken has adjusted. So they've eliminated positions that were, at one point in time, hallmarks of developing duplication and a pattern for leadership. Now, it's simply about, let's get people into a position where retail sales is profitable enough for them to actually make a living at it. Well, we all believe in the Nikken products. When you add the 25% plus the rebates, which was pretty much all we only ever made in Nikken with respect to retail was the rebates. Now it's the retail plus the rebates. You're giving access to those rebates at an earlier stage of development of the business based on something that a person can generally do by themselves. A person can almost go silver now by themselves, almost. They have to sponsor a couple of people who do a nominal bit of volume, but for the most part, they can go silver on retail sales. So now they have access to the full 20% rebate plus their 25% markup. That's the biggest, that's it. That's the lion's share of the commissions they now have in their hands for having created the sale. That's huge. That's a business that a person can legitimately turn $500 or $1,000 at on a monthly basis part-time. So now that, if you are looking at this as a franchise, you now have a franchise that's viable. So now what about if you were looking at franchising, creating a bunch of viable franchises? Well, now the opportunity of distributing products through a network becomes all that much easier to sell, in my opinion, because it's not about hype. It's not about motivating people to become a member of a wholesale buyers club where they do a one-time lump sum commission like they're buying a lottery ticket. You know, they buy a pack of this or a pack of that or 10 packs of this or 10 packs of that. It's like a lottery. I'm paying the price of admission, and that funds the entire pyramid for 1 month, and then they do it again the next month and again the next month. And the encouragement is always bring in more people, bring in more people, bring in more people, because that's the lion's share of the income being earned by all the people. And the pack bonuses on top of that, that was simply a way of funding the organization. Well, we don't need all that. We already have built into our business model a very lucrative front end, and now we've always had a lucrative back end, but now the back end actually makes sense. The back end meaning I'm making 6% of the business volume that's being generated by my franchisees. And my franchisees are making volume happen because they're getting paid very handsomely to make volume happen. So it's the reallocation of where your resources are going. Nikken's putting more money into the hands of the pockets of people who are only going to do this business part-time. They're never going to make a career of this. They're not going to be Royal Diamonds because it's not in their ambition at this level. So if you imagine, take a snapshot of the company over the last 42 years. At what point, or if we were going to look at a percentage breakdown of what percentage of the people enrolled in Nikken actually aspired to be a Royal Diamond, legitimately aspired to be one, you'd find it's a very small percent. So why then was all of the ambition, all the marketing, all the communication, all the incentives, everything was all about being a Royal Diamond when it really didn't even apply to the majority of people? So it's simply wasted energy. It's like you're fanning the flames, but people aren't really excited about that. And the only people who are excited about that are the people fanning the flames. So it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you really step back and analyze it. You'd look at it and say, okay, that's a lot of expended energy. We want to incentivize those people who want to go the distance, but the majority of people upon whose volume they're going to be able to go the distance need to be incentivized as well. They need to be motivated and equally so. And it's a different language at that level of the business. It's a different ambition at that level of the business. It's a different work ethic at that level of the business. Add on top of that the internet. And now you've got a completely different business. So Nikken, I think, has put money into the pockets of people who are going to do this, who are doing this on a part-time basis, learning how to do this in a social media environment, learning how to do this in the age of the internet with e-commerce. And that's going to be a lot more people because it's more friendly. It's easier to accomplish. Do you remember what it took to create a sale? Like, do you remember what you had to do? Man, think about it. I used to have to buy brochures, wait till they arrive, and tapes and videos and who knows what else. I went out with the intention to recruit somebody only to fall short and end up having to sponsor them wholesale when they were really just a customer, blah, blah, blah. But I'd have to do a lot of handwork, a lot of legwork, and invest time and money in acquiring a sale. Now, before I finish a conversation, I've texted a person a video link. So it doesn't take as much effort. And we're going to have more people with that little bit of time that they have applying themselves in this way, much more likely that a person is going to apply themselves in the Nikken today than if if we had to recreate the work ethic that we had going into this today, which one of you would volunteer? I sure as heck wouldn't do what I did. I mean, who would be willing to do the incredible work that, because then it was important, then it was required, but not now. So much has made it possible for us. I mean, go back further. Remember Amway, when in the back days in Amway, you had to be the garage where every product came to, and then you'd have to physically, manually deliver that product, or they'd have to come to your house. So this evolution has gotten to a point where it's much easier for a person to be in business with us today. Much easier for them to even do business with us today, because more and more people are conditioned to buy online. It's where people are buying. It's where people are shopping. So it's easier for us to do our job. Plus, we have 42 years of history, so it's less likely for them to take a pot shot at whether or not we're real. That's not even a question anymore. Do you ever get that anymore? Oh, I don't really believe that works. Really? Like, what planet have you been on for the last 42 years? Hello? So it's not even an issue. For the most part, it's really not an issue. So all the things that we had to overcome are not there anymore. So it's literally more accessible, more available, and more funds are available for a less degree of work ethic today. That's what I mean by the democratization of our comp plan. So if you've got a business opportunity that you can present to anybody that they can do with great ease and pleasure, if they enjoy helping people, if they have access to the internet, which everybody does now, even from their smartphone. So even now, from pretty much everybody has a smartphone. So now pretty much everybody's equipped to do the business. And the more sophisticated Nikken software gets, especially when they start moving in that direction of the smartphones, again, just it's easier for people to enroll. It's easier for people to become customers. It's easier all the way around. Well, that means if you reduce the requirement, the level of requirement, the effort involved, okay, something has to make up for it. What's going to make up for it? And I believe the answer for that is volume. More people. So if the bar of entry is lowered, more people have access. That's democracy, right? It's not about one or two people making all the decisions. It's about more people involved in that process. And so with the comp plan and the structure of the business now, more people can engage. So now the question becomes, well, I'm an old guy who's been here a long time, and I used to do things the hard way because that was the only way back then. It was only that way. That was the hard way looking back. Today, it's a lot easier, and we're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do because it doesn't look like I know what I know. And that's why it's kind of confusing, because it's like, wait, but maybe it's not so hard, Stan. Maybe it's really not that hard at all. Maybe we just got to remember why we're doing it and then just give other people a chance to discover it for themselves and make of it what they will. You know, there's going to be people who come into this business in 2017 who will have such an incredible vision for this that you and I haven't even thought of. I just sponsored a woman, okay? And I had a conversation with her last week, and she's telling me about the gig economy. And she says she runs a very large, actually, I think 8 or 9 stores in Telus Mobility. That's a cellular communications company. She says, you know, we make about $25 or $28 a subscription to a cell phone. They make over $300 per person per capita on the upsells, on the phone and on the things you can buy on the phone and the covers and the cases and the this and the insurance and what. So her business model is get them in and then upsell. That's her business model. So when I explained to her our 500, qualify enrollee QE, and she wanted to know about Dime, and I said it's 100,000. So she says, so 200 people doing the QE. I said, yeah, that's right. She says, oh, that's easy. Immediately, that was just the way her mind worked. 200 people doing QE. Oh, that's pretty straightforward. 200 people doing the gig economy. And now she has lots of employees. So she's looking at that saying, That's not very hard. No brick and mortar, no people to pay, no insurance on, she's been robbed, I don't know how many times out of the store that she was in. None of that. But she can create that economy, scale that economy, because it's a small business, $500 a month in business, multiply that by 200 times. So it was, I mean, I'm just listening to this going, how come I didn't think of that? It actually is pretty simple. So we're going to learn from this next generation who are coming in, given the design of Nikken as it stands today. And I think we're going to be very surprised and overwhelmed and pleased that we stuck around and we helped push this new engine, this new car out the door. I should give other people a chance to ask questions or comment. What are your thoughts, Stanley?
Excuse me?
What are your thoughts now?
My thoughts are, I got to go out and do it. I mean, I really enjoyed being on the call. I've sort of opened up my eyes a little differently on how I'm going to approach this, because I was thinking of, like you said, the old ways, and we'll see what happens tomorrow when I go to my meeting.
Do you remember that bag we used to carry? When I launched Mexico in 1993, I rented with Poupée, Alan Rako, Bob Coley. We rented a 4-bedroom apartment 2 doors down from Nikken's home office in Polanco. 4 stories. Now remember, Mexico's already, I don't know how many thousand feet above sea level. And so we'd come back at 2 o'clock in the morning because everything starts there at 11. 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm carrying my bag. And of course, in my bag, I have my pad, I've got the roller, I've got everything, plus the promotional materials that I carried to do the presentation. So I'm carrying this 50-pound, maybe even more, up 4 flights of stairs at 2 o'clock in the morning every day. Who on earth would do that today to build a business?
That's right.
Nobody would do that.
I've had so many people say to me, Madeline, you're crazy. I don't want to do what you do. Hey,
Right.
I don't want to do it anymore either.
You just got to make it look a lot easier because it is a lot easier. And so that's the thing that we have to retool in our own mind. It is actually easier. It's a business still about people. In fact, it's even more about that. I think it's even more about that because now I'm not controlling the information. Now I don't actually have to be an information junkie. I just have to be a nice person, care about people, find out what they're really looking for, and offer it to them. That is a new set of circumstances. I think that is where we really excel because we've had a lot of years of practice of learning how to listen and how to open our heart and so forth. So here's where we come in. Here's where the real expertise comes in this new economy of people.
Mike,
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce Sue Gruber. She's on your team with and has been mentored by Gary Bolton. And we did a little regional planning call on Dr. Stan's Monday night program here before now. And next week at 8 o'clock, she's going to teach us what she's learned about copying videos, putting them out there, everything that she's been doing, as Suzanne Steele has done as well. And Gary is someone who you might consider pulling in and learning what he's done too, because he's really quite exceptional. He has quite a few YouTube videos out there. And Christine has done a lot on Facebook. And so we do have some Doug on your team under Bernadette. I've done some sessions with him. So there really are some people that, as you're doing this tour around the country, it'd be nice to have breakout sessions, to have little breakout sessions for people that are doing that to help share, and the new invitees that are coming.
That's a great idea. So we'll add that to the agenda. For FYI, we're going to have Ben's call tomorrow. I think we're going to be announcing a conference call to start our planning session on Thursday. So essentially what we want to do in the last couple of weeks of December is nail down a calendar of events, which will include cities. and who's going to be at that city, myself or Ben or Dave or whoever, maybe Dennis Williams, whoever we can get to fly in. And we'll publish this as a main calendar, and then we'll begin. We'll brand it. We'll create some type of a brochure or flyer so that everyone has the ability to post this on social media. And then just like I did in Canada, one event after the next, it's just going to be the next event, the next event, the next event, the next event, the next event. Everybody promote the next event. And so it'll create a roll across January, across February, and into March of a movement across the country, blanketing the country so that everyone who's connected to us is going to get a sense that this is totally a new Nikken. This is a new day. For me, it's like January 1992 all over again. And I had a wonderful conversation with our CEO today, Kurt Foley, and we had an interesting dialogue, and more to come on that. You're going to be really excited about what gets presented for the agenda of the first quarter of 2017. So this is all about retooling our mind, recognizing that if I was introduced to Nikken today for the very first time, with no past, just looking at the situation right now, looking at my life, looking at the situation, looking at this new opportunity, asking myself, does it have legs? Does this opportunity have legs? Can I really, really do something with this? Do these products have meaning and value and purpose? Are there people I know I need to share this with? Are there people I know who could benefit from a business opportunity, who would gain a lot of insight? You know, I love the statement that Rick puts out, the Nikken Advantage, you know, the concept of the Nikken Advantage. Think about this. All of you who have been in Nikken, as long as you have, what has been the advantage that you have benefited from that your peers, your colleagues, your contemporaries have not had the benefit of because they have not been in Nikken? And it's more than just the products, isn't it? It's more than just what you've gained from being involved in the products. You've gained what? Friends, relationships, dialogue about social causes, and intel from all walks of life. You've gained insights into the human condition. I mean, you guys are extraordinary. And what you bring to the table with all of that is an opportunity to mentor the next generation into this level of intelligence, this level of consciousness. You know, we've changed the trajectory of our lives and the trajectory of the lives of the people we've associated with because of what we've done. This is our calling. This is our mission.
Mike,
Yes.
we are humans being more.
We are the example of humans being more. We're the first in the line. Where, you know, we created this movement, and it's now up to us to keep this movement not only going, but passing it on to the next generation that takes it. We all hope that our kids will be able to go further than we did. Is that not really our desire, that our children will go beyond where we've gone? You hope the best for them all the time. So that's really what this is about now. This is about taking what Masuda gave us, that we've embodied, and passing it on to the next generation, and hoping and cheering and being there for them to see how much further they can take this. If you're being a part of something is important. It's necessary for us to feel alive and to have reason to be alive. And Nikken is as good as anything out there, and better than most things out there. So this is a good thing to invite people to be a part of. If the message got lost along the way, especially during this transition, I understand. But I think that those transition days, those dark days of uncertainty are behind us. It's now us. We're it. We're charged with the responsibility of taking this and moving it forward. Pick up the ball and move it forward. So I'll come completely up for the task. Yeah, I've done this 25 years, but I'm not done yet. There's still more to come. And I know what can happen when you create a wave. You know, we've been riding on the coattails of a wave we helped create, most of us on this call. It's incredible. If you really think about it, it's amazing that we've had this thing in our lives all this time because, you know, we gave it a real good hard push at one point. Well, let's give it another little push. Well, guys, I've got to get on to my next call. So thanks for joining me on this call. And I guess we'll post this video somewhere soon. Royal Alliance. Cheers. See you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
please
you.
do that.
See you
so that
next
we can
week.
share it.
Okay. Great.
Bye-bye.
Grazie.